How do I start this podcast with giggles? That's the big question. I think we just started the way I just did it. Do you know why? Because I'm sat opposite her. The one thing I love about this girl is she just has the biggest smile on her face.
Literally sat here grinning
This is
like a Cheshire cat.
This is a completely different version from the person that I was with not that long ago. So for those of you that don't know, this incredible woman just broke the world record running the fastest time in history, doing the 3 peaks. And I got to experience it firsthand. And pride doesn't, it's not even the words for how I feel about what you just did.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a lot happier to see you now. No, I was happy to see you, but I wasn't in the mental capacity to show it.
Do you want to share with them what went down?
So firstly, Josh was late, just to clarify.
Was I?
Yeah, you told us you'd come in the morning and you didn't get here till about 7 o'clock in the evening.
Yeah. Yeah, that's not on.
So Josh was like, we'll be there in the morning. So I was all hyped. It was like a massive thing. Josh was coming, whatever. Anyway, it got to like lunchtime and Chris was like, Josh is still coming. Blah, blah, blah. You sent us a really enthusiastic voice note. I was so excited because you sent such an enthusiastic voice note. And anyway, yeah, you hit me at a pretty low point at about 7 o'clock at night whenever you arrived. I have no idea what time you arrived, but it definitely wasn't the morning, I can tell you that.
So my version, got to the station, we had an absolute shocker, like delayed train. And we would end up sat in like Euston Station or something for like, I don't know, 3 hours or something. And when we got on the train, I don't know why, but again, it was just like, it was so unbelievably slow. So like we were multiple hours late to getting to you, but I also was just quite knackered and annoyed by this scenario. We then end up in a part of Wales I can't even pronounce with a taxi man that I can't even understand, and then get taken to a pub that literally takes me back in history by about 400 years. And we're sat there, we're absolutely starving, and this pub doesn't serve food and there's nowhere else in this village to get food. So the barman basically gives us a menu. He's got a mate who sells kebabs, which I was like, this is probably the worst meal I could possibly eat pre-running to you. But I knew you were getting close, so I get changed. I'm just like fantasizing about this moment where I see my best friend, so proud of her, and I just can't wait for this warm embrace after this voice note I'd got earlier being like, where are you? So I go on a run, and I know there's like this point where she's going to be where we can have this moment together. I see her, and I just quietly, I don't want to be too enthusiastic, I'm like, giggles. And she just walks past me. So I'm stood there with my arms in the air like, have I done something wrong here? This is so bizarre. And I just remember you sat on this deck chair and your soul had just left your body. Like it just wasn't even you.
I know. I mean, to be fair, I had a very good moment. And I think the reason why I was in such low when I saw you is because I had such a good time. We just had a police escort. That afternoon, there was a policewoman who was amazing, and she listened to this podcast, You Are a Hero. And she basically escorted us for like a good 2.5 hours. And it was just incredible. And I think I then had a nap after that. And obviously when I wake up from a nap, it was kind of, it went either way. It was going to be really good or it was going to be really rubbish. And it was good for like the next hour. And then I saw you. And I think, then you experienced the darkest of dark moments with me.
I think I was your punching bag for the duration of that trip, to be honest with you. I felt like anything I said or did just irritated you. It just like, I was the target. I think I bought ice lollies, and you just like, the look of disgust when I tried to offer you one, I was like, I can't get this right here.
And then you had music, and music wasn't the vibe at that moment in time.
You just weren't, no music, or the music wasn't loud enough, and yet it was on full volume. Or at one point you told me off because I hadn't positioned myself correctly amongst the runners. I think I was to the side and I needed to be at the front, but by being at the front, I was basically on my own. So everyone else was chatting, having a great time, and my only priority was essentially to blare music at the back whilst I just looked into the abyss. It's just like, do you know what? I'm here for it. Like, she's been here and supported me so many times. I guess it's my turn to reciprocate the favour.
Oh, good times.
It's been an unbelievable journey though, hasn't it?
It has. I mean, yeah, 3 peaks. I think because so much happened since, I've kind of not moved on, but I'm like, 3 peaks, that like those 6 days were the most brutal 6 days I've ever experienced in my life. But yeah, it feels very weird now just to kind of be back into life, which...
There's a moment that you talk about a lot, and I'm actually really happy I captured it, and I wanted to show you today, is for the first 9K, so when I arrived, and we embarked, you just didn't have, I mean, the elevation at that time, the hill, the gradient was just crazy for you to have to get up to with the legs that you had at the time. And there was just this point where you were absolutely exhausted and all you wanted to do was sleep. And this was like one of those really sort of like conflicting moments where Chris Taylor, you know, your right hand man, has to make these decisive decisions, and they're not always the ones that you want. And you just being collapsed on the ground and you're just utterly broken. And it's just one of those moments where you don't know what to say or do. It's just to be present in that moment. And it felt really inappropriate, but I wanted to document it because it was something I wanted to show you later on. Because for me, it's those defining moments that make you stand out and make you the special runner that you are. Would you like to see it?
Yeah.
Do you want to relive the moment or not?
Yeah,
You don't
let's
have
see it.
to.
No, let's see it. Let's see it. I think that moment, which I have spoken about quite a lot, was also a very weird moment because I knew that I was at my limits. And ultimately, I mean, I've not really spoken to Chris about it that much since, but I still don't know whether that camper van potentially could have made it to us on the road or couldn't have done. I mean, it didn't come at the end of the day. We continued for extra 5K. But yeah, like I knew I was at my limit at that moment of time. And I actually know, I do think, I mean, what's an extra half an hour at the end of the day? But if I had napped, I then would have, you know, reincarnated half an hour earlier, and maybe would have cut off half an hour of time. But yeah, I mean, when I was in a dark moment or whatever dark moment it may be, it was slow and like you literally felt like, you know, you're making no progress. Whereas after a nap, when we had our nap after that moment, you do, you know, you're off again. I actually think after that nap, we did spend a good period of time. We were moving, weren't we? We had
So
2 hours sleeping, and then
this nap again. This is a moment where everybody else has to be put first. Who, to be fair, has been there the entire week. I've only just rocked up from London. We arrive, everyone goes into their camper vans, and I get handed a deck chair, and told for 2 hours that that's where I'm sleeping. I was like, this is interesting. And I just remember not being able to sleep on it, but using it to block the light out. For some reason, you parked under like this massive spotlight, which was just blinding me. And I think I took myself off for a walk at like 1 a.m. It was just like a really awkward time where you decided to nap. But those moments, you look back on them and just have a massive smile and like,
you do have to laugh. Like even
it's amazing.
my sister, so Matt was above, videographer Matt was above. I was below in the bunk. Tom, for some reason, managed to get a double bed in the camper. Mum was sat in the passenger seat. Dad was sat in the driver's seat. And Celia was literally, my sister was literally sat like around all the cameras, like on the bench, just like that lying there, not being able to move. And like when you look back, you are just like, I mean, what on earth are we doing? Like Matt was fast asleep snoring. Tom was there. No one else could move. You were in a deck chair.
I just remember looking at Amy, who was Imo's friend, you know, looking at one another, just being like, this is unbelievable. Like, what are we doing? Like, how have we got to the point in life where this is the norm?
To be fair, I did keep checking in. I remember I woke up and I was like, is Josh okay? Like, where's Josh going? But hey, Mum was like, he's fine. He's fine.
Oh, yeah.
He'll
So
sort
you didn't
himself
want it,
out.
yeah. You were the most important thing. So this is the video here. Should I put it up top volume? Maybe play it into the speaker to see if people can hear. It's the 24-second one. Just there.
Oh, let's look.
The ending.
At least I can laugh at that bit. Whatever.
How does that make you feel?
I mean, I don't think I've ever quite been so angry at a human being in my life when Chris told me to keep going. I look back now and I'm very proud of myself for continuing to go. It was just so dark. Like there were moments in that challenge, which I do think like, I was actually talking about it to Chris the other day. So there's a very well-respected man in the ultra running world, and he's just written an article on me doing 3 peaks, and he wrote down Imo is hard as nails, and I kind of like I replied to Chris being like haha whatever I said, and he said you wouldn't look at her and think that, and I think I actually shared a post on it today, and I think there's a lot of like people do look at me and they're like, oh, she's a little like poncy female that likes just doing X, Y, and Z. Is actually I like quite like breaking down that stereotype of like you can just yeah, you can dig deep, and I dug unbelievably deep there, and that was most definitely the hardest moment of my life when I did that. And yeah, I think I'm very proud of myself for doing that because asked me if I could do that. If I'd done that 2 years ago, maybe not. Um,
I think that's what's been so special about this particular challenge. It wasn't a case of proving people wrong. I think it was just proving yourself right. From anyone that's listening, you are a well-spoken, blonde, white female, right? So a lot of people just will go straight to privileged. But, ultimately, privilege isn't going to help you in those moments. You can buy all the luxury items you can possibly want, but if you don't have that grit to get through those moments, that moment that I just showed you there on that phone, no amount of money or background in this world is going to get you through that. For a lot of people that don't know, like Imo, on average per day, 24 hours in the day, you were having maximum what, sometimes 4 hours of sleep?
oh, maximum, yeah, probably on average to like 2 to 3, I'd say, and that was obviously unbroken. Broken sleep. There was actually quite a funny moment. I was actually reflecting before I came on this podcast about kind of moments to talk about because I've been on a few podcasts previously, but obviously I know you, so this is probably the most one that I'm going to be most comfortable in. And when I went to sleep, obviously, when for anyone that runs and does long distance, you obviously, well, sometimes you lose your appetite. So I go to bed or pre-bed and I wouldn't be that hungry. And like an hour into like having my nap or whatever, I'd wake up hungry. So like, I'd have food by my bed, be it like a chicken sandwich or like whatever, and just like start nibbling. And you think about it and you just like look back at these moments. I'm like, what the hell was I doing? Like literally waking up like every 20 minutes, every half an hour after my hours, like after being like an hour sleep for an hour, and it's like nibbling away or kind of, but it's just like all the norm. And yeah, I think
You taking poos on the side of the road for me was like a real that built this relationship to whole new heights. Like it got feral. Like, I just remember we'd be walking or running. You'd literally go, I need to poo. It wasn't even like I'm going to hold this back. And it wouldn't even be in the most discreet places. I think at one point we were going through a village and there were literally houses on the other side of the road. But because it was like 5 a.m., realistically, no one's going to see it. And you would just squat on the side, go, pick up your pants, and then we just crack on. It
to be
just
fair, it got so bad when I'm very like, I'm quite open about my pooing. I go a lot, whatever. And it was like day 2 or 3, and I'd done so many poos that day. And oh my God, my bum was so sore. And I remember literally thinking, I was like, all I want to do right now is run naked or just like put on a massive pair of pants. So I was like, I had no chafage. I'm like scooping Vaseline, just like shoving it in my bum to stop it from chafing.
the most impressive thing is the fact that Tom, her boyfriend, is with her this entire time. She's taking a dump on the side of the road with her boyfriend there being used as a shield. Like, honestly, the fact that there's still romance in that relationship, I just think is testament to you two as a couple. You are going to overcome anything in life.
It was the worst bit. I remember when we got to the border in Gretna, and I had so much Vaseline in my bum, and so it kind of looked like I didn't even know what was going on down there. And I remember saying to Tom and Matt, guys, do not get my bum in it because I literally have the shiniest bum from all this Vaseline.
I wondered why Tom's lips were so shiny. Such a dirty bastard. Honestly.
Oh dear.
It's just crazy though, like looking back, what you've done in 3 years, essentially, like having never really done running to now being a record holder and one that's being acknowledged by the elites. Like this isn't just you've done a challenge and it's been picked up by the media. Like running purists are looking at this with admiration and respect. Like you are now acknowledged within that elite level, to the highest degree. And I just think it's just so special because for me, like one of my biggest frustrations was seeing the potential you had, but equally what I knew you could achieve, and brands just not taking this seriously and you getting the sponsorship that you deserved.
I don't think a lot of brands, believed in me, and I'd like to think they believe in me now. I want to see. I mean, I want to take running. I want running to be my career. Like, I want to see where I can go with it. I want to compete against other people. I don't think I want to do challenges again. I want to properly get myself into a field of good runners and see where I'm at.
What do you think was the hardest thing for you about trying to break the Three Peaks record?
I think I loved the training. So like before I got to 3 peaks day, training was amazing. I loved it. Everything about training. Obviously these challenges are costly. That was a big thing. I think when it got to it, the biggest thing was the heat. Like the heat was just unbearable. I think we were very lucky. I spoke to mum about it, and mum was like, well, imagine if it was wet and we were all kind of drying things in the camper and hanging things over the steering wheel, X, Y, and Z. So actually, I suppose that was a bonus, but equally, it was unbelievably hot. Every time the sun came out, I felt sick. Every time, yeah, my feet, the heat rash on my feet. I was very lucky with blisters for the first like 2 or 3 days, and then they were just. I mean, lucky I didn't really take my socks off for the 3 weeks, so 3 weeks, 6 days. So they were just kind of rotting until I took them off.
At least when you look back at it with a smile, that's the most important thing.
It was, we were fair. Well, I remember saying to Chris at the end, we were like, we didn't brush our teeth for like 6 days.
Really?
We did ish, but like I probably brushed them like 2 or 3 times. Because you're just kind of rolling through. I just didn't care.
Yeah. Well, you don't. It's not a priority, is it?
Literally, all I thought about was putting one foot in front of the other.
What would you say was your biggest learning from the experience?
I love having a team. I love my support are amazing. Like every morning, I don't know if Chris did this when he did all your challenges, everything you've done. But he set we had to do gratitudes every morning. So we set like an intention of the day, or whatever our gratitude was for the day. And every day my gratitude was my team. Because they were just amazing.
I thought you were like, what?
My team.
Yeah, I get it now.
Yeah.
But before I was like, that was a curveball. I was like, what? What's that fucking urination got to do with like gratitude? I was like, that's interesting.
Yeah. They were amazing.
Is that a saying, Giggles? My wee?
Well, no. I feel
Like
like I
my
make
team?
sayings up. I feel like I'm not particularly clever as such. I'm saying this in like inverted. I'm not particularly clever. I feel like I do make up words. I do kind of make up a speech. I do make up kind of what I say.
Yeah. The Flugensumpference, just was out of this world. You're like, trying to process myself. Like, is she just elite level in intelligence, or am I just not processing this right?
Anyway, my wee.
And what would you, if you look back on it now, what would you say you could change?
I think I wouldn't change anything, but I would be a lot more. I would know. Like in training wise, I couldn't train any harder. I felt unbelievably prepared. It would just be like for that situation when Chris told me to nap, or when you have a power nap in the camper van for an hour and then you wake up after, I know that what that feeling is going to feel like. I'm going to feel unbelievably groggy. Putting my trainers back on will be so hard. That first half an hour after you've woken up from the nap will feel like you are, back to square one, broken woman. But actually, I will know that I'm going to feel like that. So I think it's just, I think it's just experience. I think I'll know what to handle. Yeah.
The key thing now is the muscle and mind memory that you got off the back of that. You will, with reflection through anything you do now. And I think that's the biggest asset is the more of these things you do, the more of that you have in your locker.
I think even with joggle, at the time, I thought that was so tough. And it was like, I'm still very proud of myself for completing joggle, and I'm not taking it away from, whatever. And joggle's an amazing achievement, whoever does it, whatever. But I did 60K a day, which in comparison to running 120 kilometers a day doesn't even compare. 60K, say it took me 6-7 hours. I then also got the rest of that time to recover. When I'm doing 120K or 100K, whatever I did each day, depending on the day it was, you have 2-3 hours to recover, depending how quickly, like how long you take. So it was the recovery time. And I look back on joggle, and I mean, I only had 6 days. I only did this challenge for 6 days, whereas joggle was 22. But actually, I recovered for joggle after day, 14 or whatever. And then actually my body got used to it. And actually I did 60K, and I look back and it was a bit of a holiday in comparison to 3 weeks. So yeah, I think that was the biggest thing. And actually, when I was going through some pretty tough moments in 3 peaks, I look back on joggle being like, you got through it then, you got whatever. So I think, yeah.
I mean, it's so interesting, isn't it, when you actually look at your rise in running, from start to where you're at right now. I mean, Imo's journey about 3 years ago started out when she wanted to take on running 7 marathons in 7 days. And then that was followed by, as she just said there, John O'Groats Land's End, where she completed it and became the youngest female in history to do that. To then make that jump from joggle, which to some is in itself possibly one of the hardest feats you can do within the UK, to then jump to doing something like the Three Peaks. Like it's phenomenal.
Yeah, but I mean, it doesn't compare. Like joggle doesn't compare to Three Peaks now. I think it was just Three Peaks was a completely another ball game.
It's interesting because I think when you look at the start of your journey, like one of the really distinctive things was the fact that, you wanted to test yourself, but your environment at the time with love was reluctant to understand or really support something like that. And it's interesting because if you'd have gone with that advice, none of this would have ever happened.
Well, I met you. I would not be. My career would not be. And I speak about you the whole time. Like you're obviously a very, very good friend of mine now. But when I first met you, you were like a mentor as such to me. I wouldn't have. I walked into one London. I remember literally getting the job in London. I applied, googling around, kind of job like gyms in one London, working front of house. You walked in. I knew you through. What you must have done? Joggle. Anyway,
Yeah, I
you
think I'd done Run for Nations.
that was it. And I saw you on the treadmill training, and I was like, I remember looking at you being like, should I go speak to Josh or not? And I was like, you know what? What am I going to, wait, what have I got to lose? And actually, this is a message. This is a very good learning message, whatever the word is, to anyone that's like nervous to go and speak to that person. Because I went up to you and I said, I'm a personal trainer. I'm currently working front of house here. Kind of, I want to, make my mark as such in the kind of fitness industry. What should I do? I think you must have pointed, I can't remember that exactly, but you pointed at the kind of personal trainers and you were like, how are you different to those personal trainers over there? And I was like, well, I'm not at the moment. I kind of want to get into running. I want to pursue it, la, la, la. And you were like, just go for it. It gave me Ben's number. I actually think you gave me his wrong number at first.
That's when my
Classic.
intelligence kicked in. You're like, there's only 6 numbers here, mate. I feel like this is your credit card details.
Pretty sure I rang someone else, but no, you Ben Parker. Anyway, gave me Ben's number, and yeah, rest was history.
I just think sometimes, people come into this space and it's really just about the validation or from other people. But for you, like, there's a real purpose to this and a drive behind it. And I just think that's what makes this narrative so interesting. What do you think that even is? Like, I still don't think I know what it is that has given you that grit and determination. Do you think it's your childhood and kind of what you've been through with that?
Someone asked that the other day. I genuinely think I've just like had the most like I just get on with it. Like I don't really think about it too much. Like tell me to do, whatever, and I just get on with it. I think it depends what it is. If you ask me to do, something academic or something I didn't enjoy, I would reluctantly do it. But like I love running. I just get on with it. I just don't think, just do it. And I think that's just always kind of been it. Like even during Three Peaks, during joggle, or yeah, whatever I'm training for, you just get on with it. Um, I'm pretty competitive. I'd probably say I'm very stubborn. So just get on with it.
What do you think
What I
all
do.
of this has done for you as a person? Like, do you feel different from the person you were?
I feel a lot more determined. I have a vision with where I want to go. Like I know I want to do professional. Like I'd like to, but like I want to become the best friend I can be, and that
You
it's
were about to say
gone.
something there and you stopped yourself from saying it.
I know I
Say
wasn't.
it.
No, I actually wasn't. I want to become the best I can be,
I think you
and
were about to say you wanted to be a professional runner.
I will. I want to become the best I can be at running. Like I don't like influencing and all that jazz is not a passion. It's not what I want to do. At the moment, I've like been lucky. I have built my social media up through the challenges, and I'm lucky in that I've been working with some cooler brands recently, not sports brands, but kind of whatever they are, which luckily is kind of making it easier to run. But I would love to be a full-time runner. I like the idea of doing talks and sharing my story, like that kind of influencing, but social media influencing like isn't not one
Yeah, I think
not one thing I want to do.
that's the issue with the sport. I think right now is that you have people in some instances that don't necessarily have the most substance, but are exceptional at self promotion. And
Yeah.
those are the ones that will get the big brand deals and the opportunities. And then sometimes, it's like an individual like yourself that, in some regards, is, I guess, a bit of an unknown. But if you look at what you're doing and how you can empower so many people around you, that for me is where it becomes quite frustrating, where it's like you can kind of see it from a brand point of view because ultimately it's a business and they're trying to promote the products that they have. But at the same time, like if you really want to support the sport and be invested in it, just don't let individuals like yourself slip.
Yeah. I think also we're the same in the sense of we are both like athletes and as such, but we don't have like a professional athlete. Like the challenge that you've done, for example, 'cause I know you've got a good team and you probably have a bigger kind of network than me, but like I haven't got a nutritionist. I haven't got, okay, I've got a physio who I see who is amazing, but she's very much kind of my physio that I found through, word of mouth. I don't have a psychiatrist and all those kind of, no like help with that. And actually, like that's one thing that I also doing Three Peaks or doing Run for 1 million or whatever it may be. What we've been through is also massive, and we don't have that support that a professional athlete may have. Whereas actually, you still have gone through just as much as even more potentially, kind of physical whatever than anyone
For
else.
sure. I think it's just like investing in the why behind it, right? It's not just somebody is just literally doing it to promote a product. They're doing it because there is a substantial ambition of like what individual or demographic that they can have that impact on. Like
Yeah.
yours is pretty distinctive. Like as a female, like with your health and stuff, like you've been through your own personal battles in the past and you've overcome them. And I think especially with that younger generation, when you do your talks to schools, you can really empathize and make such a substantial impact in their lives. I think it's really interesting to see how you set yourself up now for the future. What does that even look like? Is there a specific race in your mind that you want to set yourself up for? Or it's a shame for me on a personal level that you I guess you don't want to set yourself those personal challenges and you want to focus more on the race. I think you'd be exceptional in the race space. I've said that anyway, just because I think the times that you're clocking are next level. But there's something about those.
I mean, it's not like I don't want to do. I would like to continue doing them. It just kind of depends on what capacity. I think I get more. I got more satisfaction, for example, out of Three Peaks than I did against Joggle, and that's because Three Peaks was kind of, it was really breaking something, whereas Joggle was still breaking something, but it was kind of, I could have run Joggle in 100 days and still be the youngest female. Um, Whereas Three Peaks was kind of, I had a goal. And I love the adventure of challenges. Like, absolutely love living in the camper van, roughing it, roughing it as such. But kind of, I love the team effort, and whatever. But I just think I get more satisfaction out of. I want to be I want to be in the playing field of everyone else and kind of seeing where I'm like, fair with, not quite caught into water, but you know what I mean? I want to kind of be in that playing field.
Do you think if you were to do John O'Groats Lanzan again with what you have learned now, and I guess the condition you're in, do you think there's a possibility of breaking that record?
I don't know. I don't know if I'd do Joggle again. It was the ugliest route. And people actually talk about it quite a lot because obviously Joggle is such a known challenge. And it's almost kind of like not a flex, but I've done Joggle. I mean, it's quite a hard flex to get. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying like that, but it is kind of like I've done Joggle. But my God, it's so boring. You've got the A1, A9, A30. It's so ugly. It's dangerous in its own way. And actually, I don't see what the kind of, apart from running from end to end, I don't see what the satisfaction of doing Joggle is. Unless you're going for a record, unless you are going to break it. I just couldn't see myself pottering along the A9 for pleasure again.
Do you think records are going to be your primary focus now?
No, I think I just want to, I would love to podium. Well, it depends. I'd love to podium in like a big race.
This week's episode is sponsored by Runner. Runner is a personalized running coaching app helping runners of all abilities train for any goal. From a first 5K to a marathon, even an ultra marathon. When the time is right for you, your plan can be created within a minute and ready to go. With each plan, Runner provides all the help a runner requires, including strength and conditioning, and you can also reach out to the team at any time via the support tab inside the app. For a 2-week free trial on any personalized running plan, use the code PHOENIX. No matter your goal, Runner is there to help you achieve it.
Would you be interested in doing things like Marathon des Sables or UTMB? And there's so many different terrains you could focus on.
I think part of me at the moment is thinking 24-hour racing. Only because I've done such boring long mileage training anyway. I mean, this is a very brash comment that Chris and I have kind of discussed and like passing, and a few people being like, you really good 24-hour. So potentially that, but then I also do like the element of kind of trails, but obviously being in London kind of at the moment, 24-hour would be more accessible being in London.
You want to do a 24-hour run?
Yeah.
They're good.
But we'll see.
So when
I don't
when
know.
I did my first 24 hours, Reese, who's sat here with the camera in front of his face right now, came to be essentially my wingman. So this was post-COVID. And his job essentially was to just kind of be there and make sure that if any harm came to me, you know, his girlfriend at the time was a midwife, so had like a bit of a medical background, so could kind of like spot the
I
signs.
didn't know where that was going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where do you think that was
I
going?
don't know, but I heard midwife and I was thinking, right, Josh. Anyway,
Yeah,
continue.
yeah, yeah. He's going to help me conceive, just in case. And basically, like you would agree, the worst time within a 24-hour period, or even when you were running, is at night,
Yeah,
right?
completely.
It's pitch black. There's no stimulation. So basically, the minute it gets dark, Reese decides that it's time for him to go to sleep, which essentially was like 10, I think, or 11 o'clock at night, and then basically wakes up at like 6 in the morning. The mental torture that I went through during that period of time, I was so disorientated whenever I was running past with the foxes making noises, these olive trees, the leaves were slapping my neck, and I thought I was being attacked by foxes, and I had no one there to fend for me. He swans up being like, "You're right, big man." I was like, "I've just run a marathon in flip-flops." Like, where were you? Hopefully you'll have a better team around you than I did at that time. But I think that was just a lack of experience from the both of us at that point. God, we can look back at that now and laugh though.
What made you stronger than Tim?
Yeah, it did. Yeah, 24 hours would be mega. I think it'd just be quite cool for you to pick the right location. Just running around London, I think it'd be quite boring.
No, I'd want to do it. I'd want to like do it properly. And also, I like the fact with 24-hour you do have a crew, because having a crew for me and having a team is just like the most important thing. I love having a crew.
It's an expensive thing though, isn't it, right?
Oh my God, yeah.
So I think that's something that a lot of people, I think, would be interested to hear. You know, what is for you been one of the biggest challenges when you come up with these ideas? Is it the funding?
Oh my gosh, yeah. Completely. Completely. I mean, they're all self-funded, obviously. I do less run coaching now, but I was really pushing my run coaching initially to fund Three Peaks.
How much would something like that cost you?
3 Peaks cost me a lot more than I'd anticipated, but only purely because I wasn't planning on initially having a videographer. I was going to have a videographer, but kind of not for the whole thing. It cost me like 20k.
I mean, the butler in the camper van was a bit excessive, wasn't it? To be honest with you, like when she says she was like waking up and snacking, she was being handed them. He's a really nice
He's
guy.
joking. He's joking. All these people being like, "Who the hell is this girl?"
I knew it. Oh God, it's not cheap, is it? And that's the crazy thing.
Also, that was 6 days.
Yeah.
But I had a physio. I wasn't planning on having a physio initially. I mean, he was amazing. He didn't do it for like a big fee, but had logistics, Chris. It did cost. We had three vehicles. Oh, sorry, the carbon footprint there.
Yeah. Oh God, the eco warriors are coming for you now. I really liked her until that point.
But yeah, we they are costly, and
they were electric, by the way. Just a heads up.
But yeah, I mean, it was expensive. But I was very lucky to have sponsors, and it was worth it. And maybe I'm paying the price now, but quite literally.
In a space of like challenges right now, if you look at, I guess, your approach to the why behind yours and what you've done, do you think now with the level of challenges that are taking place, it's going in a healthy direction, or do you think it's starting to lose its direction slightly?
Any element of like getting people into running is amazing. And I think that I love that part about challenge, and whoever you are, whoever it may be, whatever someone thinks of that person, I think it's incredible if you can inspire even one person to get into running. But I do think it has got a bit crazy. I think, I think the kind of the whole running world, challenge world has gone a bit crazy. And I'd like to think that people do it for good reasons, not for any sort of social media clout or kind of brand clout. I think if they've got the intentions of inspiring, I think that's amazing, because I think, like, I love hearing people's stories.
When you think of what you've done do you think you've learnt with each challenge, I guess, the process or approach to take post challenge, like how to be kind to yourself? Because I think, you know, certainly on social media, you're seeing a lot of individuals where they're literally jumping from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next. And I'm not necessarily seeing that recovery time. With something, especially with the 3 peaks, if you look at the magnitude of what you did, what knock-on effect has that had on you mentally?
That's quite interesting you say that. So when I finished, obviously 2 weeks, the first 2 weeks when I finished, I was very much bedbound. Hot sweats, nightmares, you name it. I had all that. So that was very much, as I said, I was bedbound and wasn't moving. But I think because I do love running so much, I have got into it probably slightly too quickly. I was on the 3rd week, I had to go to Scotland to work, and because I had no access to kind of a gym or bike or whatever, I got back into running very slowly. I was walking, but actually 3 weeks was probably too early. But equally, I wanted to move in some capacity. If I was at home or if I was in London, I would have sat on an exercise bike for, a very gentle 20 to 30 minutes. Whereas because I was in Scotland, I kind of walked. But I am fine. I am listening to my body. And if I'm tired, I will rest. But I've kind of been doing like 50 to 60K weeks, which but then again, it's normal for me because my mileage was so high. But I am being careful. My hormones definitely aren't back in check.
Has that affected your menstrual cycle?
Yeah, I haven't had a period since I finished, or like during my period was due during, and then it haven't happened since. But I am aware of it, and I lost a lot of weight, and I've gained it all back again and more. So I'd probably say I'm bigger as such at the moment, but I want to be, because I want to just kind of give my body some love and some attention and whatever. So I'm definitely not back in kind of 100% shape, but I'm equally aware of it, and I am kind of looking after myself.
Do you think it's sustainable? Like something of that magnitude, do you think you are able to do one of those hypothetically a year? Or do you think the level of time it will take to recover from that, and then or equally the preparation that it will then take to go into the next one, you're better off giving yourself more time? Because I think that's what's interesting. Like if you look at the magnitude of what you just did, what was the total kilometers?
700.
So it was 700 kilometers in 6 days. And I guess if you look at the repercussions post that, it's so interesting how something like that seems to be quite different to someone who does high rocks one weekend, a 50K ultra the next weekend. They might sign themselves up to 5 and 10K races. Like it seems very different. But how sustainable that is, I don't know.
I did joggle 2 years ago. And then last year I said I was given lots of opportunities, said yes to everything. And the end of the year I burnt out. Like it wasn't sustainable. This year I've done 3 peaks, had a massive kind of focus obviously towards 3 peaks. I am chilling at the moment, and I would like to do my fast marathon at the end of the year. That is very much my vision. But equally, as kind of quoting Chris here, you've got 5 candles. I've very much burnt 4.5 of them this year. So I'll see how my half a candle does and fares at the end of the year. If I can do a fast marathon, I can do a fast marathon. If not, that's it. But I'm not racing anything else. I'd happily do kind of fun run. I will kind of fun run and do easy miles and mileage and X, Y, and Z, but I haven't got another A race in, apart from I'd obviously like to do Valencia at the end of the year.
Where's the 5 candles come from? Why 5?
I don't know, it probably wasn't 5, it was probably like 10, but anyway, my candles have been blown out, basically.
That cake is out.
My candle has been burnt.
So I'm doing Valencia.
I know you are.
Yeah.
It's going to be me, you, Chris, cruising around.
Well, no, it'll be you cruising around. Imo's like calm, relaxing run pace is basically Kipchoge. There's no such thing. Like you sit comfortably.
No, the whole point is we're supposed to be going around together. That's the whole thing.
I'm not running with you. You'll ruin the experience. Your comfortable pace is like a 230 kilometer pace.
No, but that is the plan.
You're pacing me, are you?
Yeah. No, we are. We're all going out. I thought you knew that.
What is your quickest run?
I've never done sub 3.
Because what's crazy, right? Imo pre-challenge ran a 3:04.
Yeah, but
3:04 marathon time. This is pre her running the 700 kilometer 3 peaks challenge. And that for her was a breeze. Like you actually said, like you know, so many people asked the question, being like, "That's crazy, you did that. Like, surely you burnt yourself out. That wasn't the smartest thing." But you genuinely said, when I did that, I was talking all the way through it. When you look at the miles you'd stocked up, I guess pre that, I think you just found yourself in such a good rhythm.
Yeah, I mean, I was very conditioned prior. I'd like to I'd like to think I was capable of like 250. If I trained hard, had a good summer training. But I don't know. We'll see. I think also if I do want to go into 24-hour running next year, I think having a good marathon time under your belt is just a good thing to kind of. I think also just if, like the kind of classic, like your marathon time is a good base time to kind of whatever register.
Valencia will
We'll
be
see.
interesting.
We'll see. Also, I don't know because I don't know how I'm going to feel. Like I felt really good 2 weeks ago, and then last week I messaged Chris being like, I feel exhausted. And actually today, like this week, I feel good.
How do you find that balance though? Like, are you able, I mean, you said you're doing 50, 60 kilometer weeks. Are you able to find things, you know, I guess to not escape from the sport, but, you know, I feel like you drink, you enjoy yourself. Do you think that's key?
Yeah.
Not drink it. I'm not promoting, by the way. If anyone just listened to that, that's not me saying go out and get hammered. It's just more the point that you
And then me
enjoy
being like,
yourself
yeah.
as much as you train hard.
Yeah, I think when I don't, I drink in moderation. I very much like a nice time. When I was training for Three Peaks, I also don't drink enough for it, like to affect me in the sense of I have obviously had a few blowouts post Three Peaks, but I don't drink enough to like it affect my training. I really appreciate a drink or two or three, but it depending on the situation. But yeah, I think, and also someone said to me the other week, they're like, "Do you have any other hobbies apart from running?" And I was like, "Yes." I was like, I very much, and I would like, I think it's important to, and you know,
What are they?
I'm like that thinking. I actually don't know what they are now.
Put you on the spot there, didn't I?
But I do have more hobbies.
Like croquet.
I like baking.
That's quite a good one.
I do like baking. I like eating baked goods.
Yeah.
I love a cookie.
Yeah, hunting.
I do have other hobbies.
Which is saying what they are.
What
and
have we been saying?
and
Can't remember.
how do you find the balance with like Tom, for instance, you know, from a relationship point of view? Because I think this is something that so many will be invested in because, you know, it takes a real strong individual to accept and support someone when they are making that many sacrifices. And that could be somebody just signing up to any distance. That's not just a 700k ultra like yourself, because, you know, we've come into contact with individuals where they've signed themselves up to something and, you know, their partner almost sees that as quite a selfish thing to do, hasn't supported them, and relationships have broken down.
I mean, Tom is very, very supportive and very, very genuine. And I think, to be quite honest, I think uh, Tom probably won't mind me saying he probably has had to sacrifice quite a lot for me. But I think,
And seen way too much.
yeah, he's seen way too much, poor guy. Yeah, I think he has had to sacrifice a lot. But I think, unfortunately, maybe, I mean, this sport is selfish. This is a selfish sport. I think it depends on what capacity, even like, yeah, it's a selfish sport. It is. What I've done is selfish. What you do is selfish. And you've just got to hope that unless, you know, you've got to give, I've got to give, he's got to give. And actually, I mean, at the moment, I'm obviously having some time off and went to Cornwall last weekend. And, you know, I'm giving my time back. But
You were able to do all that baking for him.
admittedly, I am selfish. Yeah, no, I say I'm selfish. Tom loves it. He does love it. Like, you know, he's like, he speaks about he speaks about joggle still, and he speaks about the training, and he loves running himself, and yeah, he's an amazing photographer. So I think I say I'm selfish, but he does love it, and I obviously do give, and you just kind of immerse yourself in the cult of it all. Because yeah, I mean, yeah, he loves it. And he's a very physically fit guy himself, as well, and he, you know, loves being outside. So I think it's just kind of, it is a cult. It's a culture, and it's a lifestyle. It's a lifestyle, and I think more and more people are enjoying that lifestyle. And you know, I would actually love to crew an event. I keep saying that I want to be the crew because it's cool. It's a very And Tom's also doing Nice in October, which is a 50K race. And I'm very much going out to support him. I'm helping him train at the moment. So yeah, like I'm hopefully doing my bit in return.
How much time do you think you can give yourself before you start thinking or planning for the next thing?
For me on this one, it's definitely left me a lot more determined in the sense of not determined. I say it's given me a clear vision of where I want to go, but equally, I think I know I need to recover, obviously, and equally, I'm not fussed about like I don't want to bounce and challenge and X, Y, and Z. I want to give myself to recover because I want to make sure that I can perform. But equally, I think from a brand perspective, the unfortunate thing as well is you have to stay relevant. Not that I mean that in the sense of bouncing from challenge to challenge, but I know at the moment I'm probably not very relatable because I've just finished I was doing 3 peaks, but now I'm having quite a nice, like obviously working, but I'm chilling in the sense of not running as much. So as a brand at the moment, that's not, sporting brand, that's not that relatable. You've kind of got to stay relevant with training. So I think for someone like me, or whoever, if you're not on a sporting contract, then actually you do need to kind of stay relevant as such, so that you are able to have that sporting presence.
What advice could you give anybody out there that is wanting to test themselves, but I guess their environment maybe is making them slightly reluctant to do so?
Just go for it. I generally I say that in everything because just go for it. I had like my friends have been very supportive with what I have done. I'm very lucky, and I've got 2 best friends I've got 2 really good friends that have been to Joggle and 3 Peaks. But girlfriends, old school friends, girlfriends. But they've come, but equally I've lost a lot of friends for it because I haven't been going out every weekend, but equally you lose, but then you gain. What the saying is, whatever loss is your gain. Like I've gained amazing friends, but lost some friends for it because I haven't been able to keep in touch or be as relatable to the nights out and the uni nights. But just go for it and work hard and, make it work. I've been, yeah.
I think what you gain in value will always outweigh what you've lost. For sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Because the one individual that you gain from that experience, I just think is going to be so much more than the 10, 15 friends that, really when you look back and what actually connected you, it's not always the most like constructive things, I guess, right?
Yeah.
And so like it may feel like a loss, but ultimately when you look at the bigger picture, it's a great asset to have. I just, I'm so proud of you, bud. Like it's just at 24 years of age. Bud. Well, what do you want me to call you? Giggles?
I don't know, Bud.
Sorry, when did you start correcting me on how I refer to you as?
I just thought Bud was a bit weird, but continue.
Is Bud weird? Now you've made it weird. Now I'm going to call you Bud.
Okay,
from now on. Giggles is being erased and it's now Bud. Pal. Is that weird as well? Don't even know. Do you know what? I was about to give you a really nice sentimental part of this podcast to end it on and you fucked it up. So I think we'll just end it at that, to be honest with you. Crack on. Enjoy the next run, wherever that is, you dick. No, but seriously, I am so proud of you. And like I said, at 24 years of age, I just think that's going to inspire so many people. And it's really exciting to see what you set, your sights on. And this Valencia race that's coming up, like it's just going to be mega. Like you're not pacing me. Like I'll enjoy you from behind because inevitably you'll be running in front of me. But nonetheless, like it's going to be mega. And I can't wait to crew and support you through any other challenge you got coming.
Thank you, and stuff the doubters.
Yeah, this is where you say I love you, Josh. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. I'm pleased I made it on an episode, whatever.
I didn't even bloody want you on. Reese was pushing for it. I think you're a bang average runner, to be honest. But for some reason, he seems really inspired by what you're doing. But hey, ho, each their own personal preference.
No, thank you. As I said, I wouldn't be here. As I said earlier, I wouldn't be, anywhere without you.
And listen, if there's anyone that I have to endure watching pooing, it would be you. So long may that continue in this friendship. I love you.
I love you too, Josh.
To the next one. Well done, bud.
Thank you.
That was special.
If you enjoyed today's podcast, you fatted biscuit, all I ask of you in return is that you push that subscribe button and leave a review. Unless it's a bad one, you can keep that, you sausage. Your support, though, makes such a difference to this podcast and enables it to grow and connect with even more people around the world.